Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 296 of the Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Mr. Chen. He's a concept artist from Taichung, Taiwan. And of course, in the contact for the for contact section of the captions, you can find ID2's Instagram page, the links to his art session on YouTube channel. And in his YouTube channel, there are a lot of cool stuff. Like there's like a Mandarin podcast is doing with a lot of other Mandarin speaking Taiwanese Chinese artists. So Ken, and which apparently in Mandarin it means check it out. Don't quote me on that. I checked it before we started recording. And yeah, one thing that I really enjoyed in your channel was the a playlist you made of the Blender, for example. I'm gonna give you an example. Blender Fantasy Graphic Concept Design. Like the whole process is there, and I put the link to that playlist in the captions as well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're probably seeing samples of his works that I'm talking about below right now. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any audio platform, well, the links are regardless are in the captions. You can check them out as well. And with that out of the way, let's start the conversation. So first of all, how are we doing, man?
Hi. So thank you for inviting me. Sorry. You just teach me how to pronounce your name with Ramting.
Yes.
So sorry to butcher it.
No, man.
Yeah, I'm very happy to join your podcast.
Oh man, my pleasure. Actually, we're here's the thing. You're going to be one of the last episodes I've ever doing in this apartment. So this is gonna be interesting. And this last episodes I'm doing is kind of emotional for me because I started this podcast in this apartment building. It's the apartment and I'm gonna end it in 2-3 episodes. So yeah, I planned everything. So at episode 300, it will be over all the episodes here. But of course, I will continue the podcast once I relocate to the new place I'm going. Yeah, this is the original ground zero of the podcast. This is the apartment, and yeah, so many memories here. But enough about that. Let's start off with the signature question of the podcast, right? So I assume, I think you can kind of guess what the first question is. So I'm just gonna ask it anyway. Give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts, and basically tell us your origin story of what's led you to choose art as your main path in life.
Yeah. Thanks for asking me. Well, so actually, I learned about graphic design since high school. In Taiwan, we got several majors, or you can say paths for student. One is academy major path. Another is professional path. So I was taking professional path because I'm really not good at math, or even English, and so. So I taking the career path. So I actually started to study graphic design way back since high school. So there was a major teaching us color theory, how to design a poster, how to using simple software. How learn we learn how to using Photoshop, and that was the time was I don't know, maybe you remember or not, but there used to be a time the software you will get hired. For example, Excel, Windows Office, you probably can get a job in some company and as some kind of assistant, or even more or some position. And if you learn Photoshop, you probably get hired in some printing store or something. So that school is teaching us those things, those software, how to using. For example, we've been taught a software called ColorDraw, and we learn about Adobe Flash, which no one anymore, and we learn about web design, but also another software that right now no one uses it. So I get a chance to learn about graphic design since high school. Then I was go to when I go to like universities, is that again I choosing a visual development, visual communication major is also a graphic design major. And so, yeah, very naturally, I when I graduate, I wanted to, I wanted looking for some job that relate to art and design. But after the time, I was like, I didn't really get proper like a painting or drawing training, but I do spend a lot of time learning about design history, color theory, all those like basic knowledge for a graphic designer. So I think that's for me it's really helpful because later on it becoming my field, becoming the older resource. I can grab a lot of resource from those training, from those course. But if we are talking about how did I becoming like professional artist, like get a job as an artist, if we are talking about career, that's because when I look back, it's because industry is growing. That was a 2017, I think. The streaming media is growing, and whether it's in the West or in the East, in the East in Asia, the streaming media in China is growing really big. So at the time, there's a visual effect company in Taiwan, in China, and in Korean, uh, all get a lot of chance to doing a lot of movie and TV show for the streaming media. So in that kind of background, I get a chance to get my first job at a visual effect company as a concept artist. So that's really lucky, because before that, there's almost no concept artist position in Taiwan. We got some video game industry, but at the time there was just majority of the time is called 2D artists. This basically is everything. You need to draw, you need to paint, you do UI, you do everything, sometimes you do character environment, which is similar to what concept artists did, right? So, and also you will be required to do painting, for keyframe illustration, for poster, for promotion art, and everything containing, we called it just 2D artists. So before the like before the streaming media is booming, before I there's a visual effects studio funding in Taiwan, like usually that's just 2D artist position, but so when I graduated from university, I'm just very lucky to like bump into this trend of like industry is growing. And yeah, till this point, I feel like it's incredible. It's really incredible, and also scary, to see. I kind of experienced through this growing of the industry, and now seems to be a bit like, maybe it's kind of like go down a little bit, but of course it's not because people don't watch movie or don't play game anymore. I think it's just capital, related to stock price or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. But look back, when I graduate and try to find job, is because the streaming media is rising, especially because there's a streaming media in China, they're rising. So I get a chance to get into the industry, but later on I noticed, I I noticed like as a concept artist, I have some paths to pursuing. One is like be more of an asset for a visual effects studio. Just pursuing and dedicating into being a concept artist, and more being an asset for visual effect studio, which means you besides you have this skill of concept art, you could potentially you can learn more map painting skill. At the time, that's why I get hired, because I learned about map painting skills. So before 2017, there's actually not that much visual effect industry in Taiwan. So when they saw me learn all the skill of like photo bashing and have skill to doing realistic lighting, the kind of concept art, uh, they will feel like, oh man, you can do this. You must can do map painting. So actually, I was being hired as a concept artist hybrid with map painter. So I get to I see my career path is like, okay, I can be a better map painter and maybe learn about how to do 3D environment for visual effect. 3D environment artist for visual effect. Just be a more generalist because a lot of time, that's what visual effect company would require artists to do. I think the best situation is like you as an artist, you can, you can do as more as you can to finish a shot. Doing you can if you can do it independently, that's awesome. So I can see what visual effects company is looking for. Well, more prefer artists to be a journalist, be an environment journalist. For if you want to do concept, you want to do big epic shot, you probably can. It would be better if you learn to do more. You try to develop yourself more into a journalist path, and that would be more company studios looking for. I noticed like I also interesting about well, I'm much more interesting about being a concept artist because I am more prefer like design and building the things, and not that much into like polish and learning about how to do a perfect shot. Especially in VFX, their standard is really really high. They want you to learn about being an environment journalist and maybe learn about a lot of things and meet a lot of standard which is only existing in visual effect industry, I think. But I wasn't. I gotta say, I'm a. I feel like, oh man, that's a lot of things to learn. But I want to stay in the concept stage as long as possible. That because that's what I'm looking for, interesting about it. That's where I feel most fun coming from. So I was so at the time I noticed there's a video game industry, and if you building environment for video game, then I think the difference of what environment concept with video game concept, it's like video game is a fully immersive experience, and the player get to decision making the decision of where to look, where to explore. So the environment for video game is, you need to be like just like a real environment. You need to have everything. It need to be built in the 360 like you need to be fully aware, fully realized, fully aware. So there's a more room for environment concept artists to design the environment. At least that's what I feel. At the time. So I make a decision to transition into being a video game concept artist in 2009. So later my first job is I go to China. I go to Shanghai, work for a studio called Senda Games, and I started to working my first project is a mobile game, and yeah, and what's happened is like it really like what I'm imagined it would be. I get a chance. I get a chance to design the environment like inside out, like entire environment. They even training me and giving me resource to learn level design. That's one thing is because we are building mobile games. So mobile game is a bit, in terms of gameplay, is more. Usually they pursuing more stable gameplay. So the level and everything. It's not like it's not like triple A. You get a chance to explore in a lot of different aspects. So for mobile games, like the screen is just this size, so the gameplay need to be very clear. So the level is actually simple, but I think in studios perspective, they like, hey, level is simple. Level designer already set up the structure, like the framing structure of the level. Why you as an artist learn about a level design a little bit, so you can collaborating with level designer better. So I was like, oh, that's awesome, because that's what I'm interested about it too, design the level, design the environment concept in the engine, in Unreal Engine. At the time we're using Unreal Engine. That to me, that's just a lot of fun, and also I could just focus on building the environment in 3D package. At the time I was using Cinema 4D. I haven't using Blender yet. And just import into Unreal to see how my asset that I model and design look like in the actual gameplay situation, in the actual gameplay lighting and the actual gameplay camera, and that's pretty benefit for the production too, because sometimes design could look really good from 2D image, but it need to be looking good in the gameplay. So sometimes they could be different. So my skill set is just perfect match for the development we are doing at the time. So yeah, that was a good time. I translate into video game, and it's a lot of fun. And a lot of coworkers, we just had a similar mindset. We were both just fanboys and fangirls and nerdy about the game we are doing, the genre we are doing, and but after about a year, we get a horrible news, which is the project needed to shut down, need to be canceled. And well, maybe not cancel. I think that's not the word they're using. They usually not using the word cancel. They use just like stop, freezing forever or something like that. I'm not sure what it is. So anyway, the project is not gonna continue doing it. So yeah, that the point I noticed one thing, which is at the time the licensing, the license, well, China government introducing a licensing for video game publishing. So you need to get license so you can publish the game. And so I guess we don't get a license, but I'm not sure. That's just guessing. But anyway, publish game in China market is becoming extremely difficult and complex. So I noticed like there's a lot of risk to do game in China market, unless you're doing it with like big corporation. But I'm not sure. I feel that's too complicated for me, so I decided to looking for new opportunity. And by the way, during all those things, for me to try to figure out what I'm like to do, what I'm want to do, there's also a lot of things happening. Like COVID happened, and that's crazy. For this career, for this job, I fly into China, and I need to quarantine for I think 2 weeks. And the job is gone. Proof. I have to go back to Taiwan. I need to quarantine for another. Oh, not 2 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks. I need to quarantine for another 3 weeks. So it's pretty crazy. The time was pretty crazy, and but that was also very interesting time, because nowadays when we're looking back, we can see the industry is really growing, as really wildly growing, growing like crazy back then. So there's actually a lot of great opportunity started to pop out the surface. Even for me, like I never go to study abroad. I never go outside of Asia, but even me get a chance to get reached out by a lot of opportunity overseas. So I noticed like, hey, I should look outside of Asia. I should reach out to opportunity overseas. Europe, Poland, UK, Germany, Canada, American, everywhere it's possible, right? Now we can see, this is called work remotely, but actually this is, I think, happening just for recent years. People, more and more people realize, yeah, why not we just work remotely? So to me, it's like, it's the same. I noticed like I can work remotely, like, so I go well, at the time I lost my project, so uh I didn't I was frustrated. So I was trying to play some game to relax a bit. I play Red Dead Redemption 2, awesome game. And also I play some smaller game like Ruiner, and also I play Forest Punk. I play This War of Mine, and I play another game called Ghost Runner. And I noticed like this game, the selling of this game is pretty good, And I started to notice like, wait a minute, this studio is not like a big studio, but they are doing this 3D game, and they hitting certain level of success, and so they must want to do something. Well, they want to do more. I believe they want to do more. So I go to their website and and notice, yeah, they are hiring concept artists. So I just apply, and very soon the team from Ghost Runner, the studio is called One More Level. Their art director is follow me on art station. I was thinking, oh, it's a good sign, right? So I just tell him like, oh, I really like your art. Like, I really like this game. Even I really suck at it because I spent 10 hours to defeat first boss, and I go to online to watch some, go to Twitch to watch other player play. I notice usually people take 10 hours to finish this game, and I just like finish the first boss. So I guess I really suck it. But uh, uh, I get touch with art director, and and very luckily to get this job, this position to join the One More Level team to doing the sequel of the Ghost Runner. So and yeah, that I think that was the time my skill set is more mature, reach out the level more mature. I think I can say that, because before that I was living in the life of I go to, in the morning I go to a job, and in the evening I come home, and I was just taking some online course or watch some tutorial, basically doing another 8 hour of just drawing or learning 3D, or learning skill, and learning, sometimes learning perspective, sometimes learning anatomy. So it's like I've been living a life of just put like 16 hour of day, like every day, like for almost like 3 years. So but at the time I didn't notice that, because I remember I listened to some podcast. I listened to a podcast of, by hosting by Maciej Kuchara, the Art Cafe podcast. I remember I listened to that podcast. He and Maciej saying like he's doing, 16-hour a day of training. When I listened to it, I was doing exactly the same thing, but I didn't notice, because I didn't feel tired, because I'm very lucky to doing the really fun job. And also when I come home, I just, I still very passionate. I still very want to do some my own art. I didn't feel like tired or like, oh man, I have to put in the mileage. Like I'm really exhausting. I didn't feel like that. So when I hear Mache saying he's putting 6 hours of hard working a day, I was like, oh man, that's incredible. No wonder he becoming Mache Kujala. And I didn't realize I was doing the same thing. That's I think that's something, like before the podcast you talk about, you should pursuing the thing you like to do, you have fun, and that's how why I when I even putting that much of time every day, I didn't feel like exhausting, and so and the time I get the job of when I get hired by one more level doing Ghost Runner 2, I guess I was reach out the point like my skill set is really is you know is well okay, you know, get hired by foreign company like, you know, they just don't care where am I coming from, and they just see my work, and they think I can do it. They just hire me. So for that, it's really awesome. And the so I started to doing, and also you know, I've been hired to do blue sky, just blue sky concept for the project, you know. So that's really awesome too, you know, because usually there's only senior artists. Well, company would giving more trust for senior artists to do blue sky concept, you know, because blue sky concept means like, you know, maybe like you know, a very epic big shot, big city shot maybe, and a single building could be a level, you know. So there's a millions of things. It look like just a one picture, but there's everything inside could be potentially a level, or an entire sequence, or 5 minutes cinema in in the after production, you know, could, because this is like a maybe it's the whole world, like the entire world of this game we're containing in the one picture. So this picture, this epic, what people really like, the epic blue sky concept painting could be very important for the project. So and also there's not many of it. So usually studio will only giving to the very senior artists, but they giving to me. So I was like, wow, that's a you know, this really honor. And well, at the same time I was really sweaty, you know, because I like, oh man, how do I do this, you know, I can I do it, you know. I was really scary, but of course the team, the one more level team is awesome, you know. My art director Wojciech, he's really good art director. He giving me a lot of feedback, a lot of pen over, and we have a lot of meeting, and you know, a lot of talking, and just, you know, he really guided me to do a lot of, you know, and also building this environment art bible for the project. So yeah, that, you know, that's another like beautiful memory, you know. And I previously mentioned I you know, I lost my job in Shanghai. Sorry, not my job, my project. So you know, I quit the job. You know, they want to assign me to another project, but it is a project. I guess I cannot do it. You know, it's entirely different style. So I thank you. I'm really grateful for them to willing to giving me another shot. But you know, I just feel like I cannot do it. So I quit it. I quit it, and I go back to Taiwan. When I quarantined, I was doing Ghost Runner 2, you know. So that wasn't that, the quarantine time wasn't that bad, because I can concentrating to facing the challenging of, you know, doing blue sky concept for Ghost Runner 2. And yeah, that was us. And after that, once after I wrapping up the building the environment art bible with the team, I get another chance to join 11-bit studio. They are the designer and the creator of the Forest Punk and this War of Mine. Is another Polish developer, and I'm very lucky to get a chance to join them. And yeah, Forest Punk 2 going to release this year. So you know, if everybody interested, you can click and join the wish list. So to me, that's another challenging, because it's first of all, it is entirely different style, because it is it's diesel punk, you know. So it's a different than steampunk, but it's a kind of industrial heavy, you know, and you know, a lot of mechanism, but at the same time it's not like a steampunk. You got big gear, and also it's a little bit advanced, a lot of craftsmen, but it's not sci-fi either, you know. So what they want is like, they want a serious design. They don't want it look like a cartoon or too stylish. They want a realistic feeling of it, and at the same time, the gameplay is a strategy game. So that's a challenging, there's a lot of challenging. And I I think I really appreciated this opportunity because they saw me can do well. They believe me can do the good design. Even a lot of my work is kind of sci-fi, cyberpunk style, but they still believing like if you can doing good design, you can apply the skill into different style. I was on one side, I definitely believing that, but on the one side, another side is like I think yes, you can apply, but you need to take a time. You definitely need to put in a lot of time to learn and adapt and just doing a lot of research and reading about for the art bible for the style and all the material what art director prepare for you and doing a lot of sketch and study. So yeah, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So when I just putting a lot of time to reading and play the game, and especially another interesting thing is when I joined the project, it's already in the mid phase of production. So to me, it's like a very different than previous project when I joined the project in the blue sky phase. So there's a lot of things I definitely needed to learn and to just doing a lot of study, especially play the first game. So yeah, then the of course there was a pandemic time, so opportunity just there's just a lot of opportunity reach out to me and I was really exciting and I noticed I wanted to I definitely want looking forward to just uh, you know experience and more different game type, different genre and different gameplay. So I was so later on I chose to when I working in the 11-bit for a year I chose to go be the freelancer and contractor path and just so I go to another studio called Godzilla Games. Is they are doing first person shooter. So I would say so to like another different type of gameplay, another different style, uh, another different challenging. So that's a but I at the times like I feel like uh I get to work remotely, which means I can moving from Poland back to Taiwan. So that wasn't bad, because you working from home like is you living in the environment you familiar. Sometimes it's um to me it's a very good feeling, because especially you don't I was living with my parent at the time, so I don't need to pay rent, and for it's good for saving. So yeah, after that I got opportunity working on a lot of different projects. And then of course I get reached out by Skybound. They are doing animation project called Invisible. So I was when I get reached out by the opportunity, I was really surprised because I know from what I'm learning, from what I'm hearing on a lot of podcasts, it's very difficult to working in film or animation in the state. If the project is in production or the IP is holding by the company in the state, because there's a union, right? And so if you're outside of region, you're not a member of union. It's not like impossible, but like it'll be pretty difficult. Like the chance is lower for you to get hired. So I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like they just directly contact me, like so yeah. When I look back, I think yeah that time probably industry is really growing. Like a lot of people, a lot of opportunity is booming, and um And oh, so but later on I noticed, oh, it's because my supervisor at the time, Edwin, he already know me, so he's like, hey man, we follow each other on our station, and I was like, oh yeah, yeah, remember, it's you, Edwin. And he invited me to the interview and invited me to the project. And so yeah, I guess, and also it's because the one another reason they hired me is because my skill set. At the time, they tried building a team that have the skill set of doing 3D concept uh, for for the set, So and then they want to hire artists with the skill set of using software such as Blender, that's the pipeline they try to building. So just happened I switched my entire pipeline from Cinema 4D and Keyshot into Blender. So yeah, when I look back, I noticed like, okay, yeah, if you can building the connection, you can with the your fellow artists, you, so when the artist when artists looking to hire someone, they probably will reach out to you, and also your skill is, you know in one most important thing, like for sure, your portfolio and also the software you're using, and your skill set, your pipeline is absolutely important. So connection, and your skill, your portfolio, your pipeline, and another thing is timing. Timing is also very important because that time just well, industry is booming, so a lot of opportunity. So I guess I hit it. I hit the three mark. So I get a chance to join the project. The dream project. The animation, the invisible animation, and working there for part two of the season two and the season three. So yeah, that was a hell of the journey. That's awesome. Edwin is an absolutely great boss, uh, and the team is awesome. Um, then, but every contract job run to the end. So then after that I get hired by Alphinic for a while. Because well, Alphinic is another interesting studio. If you are interested, if every audience interesting, you can check his some of the. I think he's art director of the previously in Alphinic. Uh, he let me check what's his name. Or maybe I will sending the link to the, to our to maybe you can check it. I can sending the link to you. And the
Sure. No worries.
so yeah, yeah, Alphinic, their approach is like they are doing remote work way back then pandemic. So the art director previously in Alphinic had this speech about their approach about how to building their team. So their message is um, hire artists, hire a lot of position on contractor basis. So for the I think it's for budgeting control purpose. But so they doing it for a while now. And so after that, I noticed, when there's a up, there must be down. I notice a lot of bad news seems to be happening. That I started hearing. That was already 2023, which is the last year. There's a lot of layoff happening, and at the time I'm still working in Alphinic. I was like, what's going on there? Like I should probably pay attention to it. But so I started to apply for few position. Uh, Actually, even I pursuing into remote work, I never just stick with the remote work. I think for me it's like I'm open to working anywhere. If you want me to relocate, I will happy to relocate. So I applied to some studio, but yeah, I guess I'm bit and when I get it so I'm bit like didn't pay that much attention to the state of the industry. I just like, oh, maybe there seems to be a lot of layoff, but I just focus on the job in my hand. Probably was best thing I can do, right? Because there's a lot of things that we can do a lot about it. So, but there's always one thing you can do is do your own thing. So when I just tried to writing some mail to some studio, like, hey man, I saw you guys looking for artists. Can I join? That kind of mail. I didn't pay that much attention to it. I just say, my contract will run out after some days, and so if you're interested, we can definitely schedule a meeting or something. But so, yeah, that and I guess I'm very lucky to when I finish and wrap it up my contract with Alphonic, I get another opportunity to working with a studio called Piranha, which is the studio I'm working right now. They are doing they are doing new Mac Warrior games, which is going to launching also this year. So if you're interested about like sci-fi and Mac battle and the story, we really tried building the game that pack with the story and the cinematic. It's like the game when I play when I as a kid, like World of the Warcraft. They got epic cinematic inside the game, right? Even the gameplay isn't the well, it is the strategy game, but they still put in a lot of effort to do the animation, and that's what we try to do too. We try to put in cinematic into the like Mac battle game. So I feel like that's really awesome, and to me it's like that's a really interesting things to see the game video game try to pursuing the kind of cinematic approach. Um, and they remind me like when I doing Forspoken 2, they also they also wanted their game to look serious, but because they don't want to pursuing like very stylized. They want a more realistic feeling. And so I guess my background when I working in VFX, when I working in visual effect, a lot of my experience really help to push my design, and just training my eye to see uh, what's the standard or how to capture the nature of the what we call realism, and because when I spend the time to do the map painting, try to match in the photos. I think those training really make me more sharper, And yeah, the so I so when I look back my career, I really didn't planning a lot of things. I just tried to listen to a lot of podcasts, like your podcast and my Chase podcast, our department podcast, or Fenzu. He got hundreds of episodes and just try to listen all of that and putting the time to practice and study and then just apply and writing the mail, writing the to the all the studio that maybe are hiring or not hiring, but I'm really big fan of them, and it got me to this point, and yeah, that's my like my path of it's my career path, so I guess yeah, that's uh yeah, that's pretty much it. Right now I'm just hoping that Oh, I noticed there's a two project I'm working on is going to release this year. So I'm really hoping Frostpunk 2 and the Mac Warrior can hit, huge succeed. And which I totally believe it would, because when I, you know, be part of the production team, I can totally see these two games gather, really interesting gameplay and a good art. So yeah, that's my some of my experience of working in the industry.
Damn, like that's a hell of a story. And um, yeah, like I guess the next question I want to ask you is now throughout all these experiences of like working as a environment concept artist that you just mentioned for us, I want to ask you this: what is like how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a piece or a project? Basically, what does the structure of your pipeline look like? Like when you want to start working on a new piece, what steps do you take from step one to the final step to the finish?
Uh, so for a project, I think um, I think one thing is like who like let's say if it is a conversation, because I still study visual communication in university, so it's like if it is a communication, if this is a visual they're using on communication, so there must be an audience, so for me it's like that's always my mindset. Who is my audience, players or but of course when you're working your audience, the biggest audience you wanted to you're going to speak probably going to be other director, or your lead. So how to start the conversation? Well, I would say besides talking, the first thing I would like to do is listen. So I would just read what other writers were giving, what's the project are going, reading the conference page, the documents containing inside the Slack, inside the conference, inside our Bible and everything. Just read as more as possible and just try to understanding what's the other writer looking for, and to take really spend a lot of time to doing the research and the brief what other writer giving to me. And but if it's your personal project, then of course you can writing a brief for yourself. So I think that's a good way to start for sure. And another thing is like getting the reference. And I think that's just I think a lot of artists say it, but I remember the clearest memory of what I from my memory is I remember what John Park saying, like you are good as your reference. So so for me it's like that's very important for me too, because I think one of the reason is that as a concept artist, even for me it's like I'm more of an environment concept artist, but let's say if your skill, your task is inside this domain of you're doing environment, but there's a hell lot of different genre, different type of environment. There's a very realistic like a public space, maybe it's a train station, would be very different than the airport, right? So when you're being assigned to doing all kinds of different subject matter, uh, I would say, the best thing you can do is just looking for reference and learn from your reference. Try to capture the key accents of the reference. That's to me that's a very important thing. And also it's because like, there's a specialist who only focus on, for example, design an airport. There's an expert who only focus on design a museum. So as a concept artist, for example, like me, there's no way I can all of a suddenly being a master of, better than the master only focus on certain type of architecture. So the best thing I can do, as an entertainment designer, what I can do is try to learn from those master and and try to make sure the subject matter would be entertained for the audience, because obviously, let's say a designer only focus on design airport, probably, he or she or they or then their goal is not to make entertainment product, right? Airport is not an entertainment product, but if we, as a concept artist, try to do, let's say, airport for a third-person shooter game, obviously, which actually we're trying to design a playground that look like airport for the player. So what I'm trying to do is just try to learn and gather as more reference as possible, and sometimes it may be even better to just you go to, let's say, for example, warehouse, SketchUp warehouse or Sketchfab, to type in those keywords, to looking for the 3D environment and just walking around inside it to get a feel, get a sense of it, and then just of course, it's inputting, putting your input of, if you are working on project, then must be some input from project. There's a genre of the project, like maybe it's a post-apocalyptic or right, like for example, like The Last of Us is post-apocalyptic. So basically everything, what they try to do is, I guess, maybe there's a museum, but it's a museum in post-apocalyptic world. So the glass is broken, so there's a overgrowing, there's a plants, there's a trees growing all over the place. There's ivy. So adding the skin of what jungle it is to cover it and wrapping up the subject matter. I think that's always a good way to start. And then another input is a story aspect. So maybe there's people living inside. So if it is a post-apocalyptic, a museum, and then people living inside, so probably going to be some camps. There's some camping, inside of it, and maybe people try to fix some broken things. So there's there will be something like that, So step by step, you start to have a ground plan for your design, for your task, for your project. This in this phase probably, well, with nice render and lighting, it probably will look awesome, but depend on the subject matter of the gameplay, you still need to probably going to push further, depending on, what's the requirement of the project, or what's your, if it is your own project, then based on your own demand, but I think, if you can do that, what I'm saying previously, you'll get a really solid foundation to explore further. But next thing is probably like entertainment element, but because we try to do, whether it's game or video game, or sorry, again, or movie, it's always entertainment product. So it probably we should adding some entertainment aspect of it, like less of a less in, for example, let's using Less of Us as example, like they're adding zombies, right? But they are not real zombie. Well, I mean, they're not like a the well, I don't know how to say, but they're how to sport, they are zombie infection by sports. So right, so sport, maybe I pronounce it not correct, but you get me.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting. Thanks. So that's an interesting input, because when you're adding zombies, that you get adding scary things, and that maybe the museum is they got this weird like scary alien looking, like weird scary looking, like things attached on the wall, on the ceiling or something, that would be interesting aspect, and that would be quote unquote entertainment aspect of the project. I think that's also a good thing to adding if you want to do an environment concept project. And And okay, but if it is your personal project, you probably could adding something like, you can try to adding a lot of things, magic, maybe it's magic, there's a maybe you can put in a magic crystal inside the environment, maybe, or if it is sci-fi, so perhaps there's a there could be, you can put in like a lot of concept artists would do a sphere, a sphere, a ball hanging inside the environment. You can do that too. Maybe it's a secret lab building inside the museum that being abandoned. That's a lot of, that's a very interesting things. And what's best is uh, you can showcase how you design those elements and make them cohesive and telling the story, and support what I'm saying previously. What I'm saying previously is by words, but if you can you can doing that work that can telling those information by visual, by just looking into your picture, people can get idea like, okay, I got it. This is a abandoned museum, and inside there's a secret laboratory, a sci-fi secret laboratory, sci-fi military sci-fi laboratory. And that would be that's good. That's good concept. That's, I think that with basically what's key is you can use in picture to telling the information without words. So
Right.
well, that's idea wise, but skill wise, just using Blender, is Photoshop, modeling and get a texture, get a photo texture, and and keep etching. I would do a lot of keep etching, buying a lot of keep etch from ArtStation or Sketchfab, and just doing everything I can, just make beautiful picture, make nice picture that can pleasing myself or my art director.
All right. Awesome. And right, the next question is gotta be tricky for most people. Which is, who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Uh, yeah, that's inspiring artist. That I when I guess the artist would be Jama Jurabayev. What I hear, but I heard somebody call him Yama. I'm not sure. I guess pronounce there's a different way of pronounce. To me, it's Jama Jurabayev for sure is one of my biggest inspiration. Because for one thing for sure is he's amazing artist. Another thing is like he really like sharing, and he doing a lot of like live show or podcast. I hear about, and to me his story is really inspiring, because he's also coming from like a place where there's not much industry going on, and he study entirely different major, but he like doing art. I think he just like you and me, like games, like movies, and so that he decided pursuing the path, and his story just made me feel really encouraged. And and of course, when I was living in Taiwan, so actually actually, yes, we don't have a big video game and movie industry, but we still got little like we got commercial visual effects studio. We got a few game studios, so it's not entirely nothing going on. So and also, so for me, it's like I when I hearing his story, I just feel encouraged, and try to, when I try to searching opportunity. So I was always think about his story, and pay attention to his what kind of wisdom he tried to share with fellow artists, because he for sure there's a few years he really like doing a lot of live show and podcast. And in 2006 16 2016, he actually visited Taiwan, and hosting a, a, a workshop, and I attended to it. I met him personally, so that's another very encouraging thing for me, and the joy, and I learning a lot of technique from him, and but all those technique is just I kind of forget, because he was teaching 3D code at the time, and I didn't using 3D code that much, so I forget everything. I just remember his his smile and his face and his breakdance. So outside of that, I already forget. I gotta say, yeah. But for me, the reason he he's a very inspired artist for me. I think is because always is because uh, uh well, if there's artists, when I memorize he or she, it's always because what he or she did, like outside of doing art, like personal events, like how they chasing their career, like or their passion, chasing their dream, sort of. So, yeah, that and also be, like I previously mentioned, like I studied graphic design and since high school, and they teach us in school about design history. So I get a chance to learn about a lot of masters, what he or she do. So I think that's also inspire, like story of Da Vinci or the artists in that period. They for sure they are character. They are they are very they or how to say that, they doing their own things, and they kind of pursuing their own paths. They even stealing body to study anatomy. So that was a tough time. And they do it anyway because they just have passion for art. And then along with the uh our technology event, the we start moving into like a industrial like periods. The artist is evolving into designer. So the design and the craftsman started to separate away. So it used to be like artists, well, used to designer will also learn craft, like doing the actual things. But now it's like now it's like for example, me as a concept artist, I'm not I don't know how to do the game. I'm not a programmer. Like so you kind of separate from this. Well, we specialize in certain paths, but at the same time we started to isolating and the from the craftsman that we are doing. The product that we are doing. But in the old time, it's like you are artist. For example, you're doing furniture. You're a designer. You're doing you craft the wood by yourself. Everything you do it for yourself. And so so yeah, when I learn about those things, to me it's like that's all very inspired to me. And yeah, then and I from design history, education of design history taught me like design like in Bauhaus periods, like I don't know if am I pronounced correctly, but because I was learning in the obviously in Mandarin version of it, like Bauhaus, those Germany artists, designers, they got a lot of like uh they want to design everything. They want to using design to changing the world. And they believe in design is not just design the product, but design the way of living. And through the product, people can live in different, living in better life. All those ideas is just great inspiration for me. And so yeah, that but that's a well, I've kind of forget why I'm talking about this. It's just you asked me about inspiration, but if we were talking about like coming the most close like in terms of concept artists, for me the biggest inspiration probably is Java. And yeah, and but at the time, I also just looking for a lot of podcasts and just reading a lot of information from online. So I also inspired by a lot of artists who willing to share their wisdom online. Like your podcast, like you interview like like for example my friend Chang Wei, and you interview like for example Sam Wu, he's artist I've been following for a long time, and I never hearing he talk about those uh podcasts. I guess maybe he was doing some local workshop, but it's never been putting online. So as when me living in Asia, I never get a chance to learn from a lot of artists, because I know like a lot of artists actually very active and doing a lot of workshop, but maybe they're offline or they're not online workshop. So I never get a chance to listen to that, but so every time when I see when there's artists willing to share something online, I just I usually feel very I just feel very that's very precious, and I very cherished about the opportunity I can listen and learn from them. And yeah, so that's my inspiration when you ask me in terms of artists.
Interesting. And all right, here's the thing. We've talked so much about art till now, but I want to ask you something non-art related question. What are some of your non-art related hobbies or things you got going on in life that are completely non-art related?
Um. Uh. Well, when I'm not doing arts, I guess just like a lot of people, just watch movie, watch book, watch reading novel, and just play games. That's something I like a lot. Um, well, I didn't reading that much, these days. Oh, when you when I study in the school, you kind of being forced to sit in the chair, so you get a lot of time to reading because what else you can do, right? Uh, during the periods I was reading like the Name of Wind, the Mystery Bone, the Blade itself, Lord of Ring, a lot of fantasy novel, and it got me realize one thing, because when I was kids, I know a lot of artists when they are kids, the movie is playing Star Wars, and when I was kids, the theater is playing the Lord of Ring, so Lord of Ring is actually my Star Wars. So but when I grow up, I still like sci-fi, doing more sci-fi, for some reason. I don't know why. But so I did reading some like sci-fi novel, like Angry Moon, like Angry Moon. Moon is Harsh Mystery. Kind of forget the English name. It's and the reading some like Neuromancer, So yeah, outside of that, I guess I'm kind of just a just a otaku, just a nerdy video game nerd. Just play a lot of game and just watch a lot of movie. And this is also how I learn English, because when I in high school, I my English is absolutely suck, but I just play a lot of video game, watch a lot of movie, and like when I about to graduate from university, I click Fanzu's podcast, and all of a suddenly I notice I can understanding what he's saying, and so it's like, oh man, I learn English. That's awesome, you know. So that's so I guess I really putting a huge amount of value, huge amount of time to just play game and watch movies. So almost like I was living inside it. So it's like the TV series, there's a TV series called Lost. There's a Korean inside the TV series, inside that show. he in the beginning he didn't know how to speak English, and in the I think season spoiler, there will be spoiler. But anyway, after a few episodes, he learned English too. So I think that's a pretty natural thing, right? So, but to me, it's like that's just my hobby, and outside of that, uh, uh, I try to exercise more, because uh when I guess I notice my body start broken, so I get to exercise, and luckily I notice I also like exercising, the doing a lot of swimming or running and lifting weight. uh I feel like I don't I can see I can do it. But I don't feel boring. So that's a good thing. You do something good for your healthy, and at the same time you don't hate it. That's fantastic. And yeah, so that's my hobby.
All right. And well, we've reached the final section and question of the podcast, which is called Time Capsule. And I'm sure you listened to plenty of the episodes as you mentioned before, so I guess you can tell how this questions goes by. But I'm for the viewers and listeners who might not be familiar, I'm just gonna go say the question, ask you a question again, which is if you could tell us some of the most valuable, important life lessons you've learned thus far as a human in your entire life, that you could summarize those lessons for us and tell us what would those lessons be?
uh can you give me some example?
Like, mm, like what are the most important things you learned in life? Like an example would be for someone they might be like, always putting yourself first, taking care of your mental health. Maybe it would be like always making sure to m- make friendships and relationships that coincides your core values, like stuff like this. But for your case, I want to know, like in your life, what is the most important lesson that you learned in your personal life?
uh yeah, that's I think, hmm, that's a difficult question for me, I guess, because it's hard to pick one. uh
Or many, you can
yeah.
pick many as many as you want. Like it's fine.
Yeah, I remember, like, at the beginning, like before recording, you mentioned something. I think that's for sure. There's a number one important thing is do things you can feel fun, and maybe better is like, even you can using more strong word like passion. That's a absolutely good, like, beyond good is awesome. Because um in the end, you need to finding is the way to, well, if you can putting the mileage into a lot of things, you can getting to the point where you can be a professionalist or professional, or being good at something. But of course, there's something maybe, for example, like me, I notice I'm not really good at math. So I probably, even I'm putting a lot of time to it, but probably not going to be a uh, good at. But let's say, learning about, let's say, cooking. If I learn putting a lot of time to cook, I probably could be, good at cooking in the point. But in order to be good, you need to just putting a lot of time, putting a lot of mileage. And I think the healthiest and the best way is just you feel a lot of fun from this process. And so you can just put in, like, 3 hour. Even 3 hours sounds not very well if it's the movie, it's a long movie. But putting things in 3 hour, if it's something you want to pursuing for your life, it didn't sound like very long. Like it didn't, it's not like it sounds like a very hard and difficult time to put in. But But actually, if you can put in a 3 high quality hour every day on something, you in a month, you're going to be scale level up a lot. And for me, it's like when I learn about concept, well, a lot boring things like perspective. I'm reading about like Scott Robinson's how to draw and practice every pages. I noticed one thing is like I'm not that much feel well. Of course, it's boringer than drawing comic book character. Drawing like Luffy or Naruto or something. But I didn't feel that much boring to draw just those perspective training to draw those lines. So I noticed like yeah, that's actually a really awesome thing for me, and I can put in the time to it, so I just put in the mileage, and after months and few months, I notice I can draw things in perspective on the on the 2D pages in a way precise. I can start to move into next stage, which is learn about render, learn about even some design sketching, because I already know how to creating the 3D illusion on the 2D page on the 2D paper. So I can move into the next stage. I can start to level up into level phase. But the key of that is just putting the time. And I guess that's why they they have school, right? Because school basically is the place for you to put in the time, and the best way to do this is just uh you have a passion to do it. So I noticed when the reason I can learn Blender, and nowadays a lot of my process is I'm also using Unreal. I mean by process I mean when I do my professional job, I will using Unreal because our game is building in Unreal, so I can. The best way for me is just to make sure my design working in Unreal, and so you learning engine is a lot more technical, compared to Blender. And learning Blender is also a lot more technical compared to Photoshop. You just pen and draw, right? So I can see that would be a very tricky things, like probably boring things for a lot of artists. But when I learning it, I'm very lucky. So I didn't feel that much horrible, like I'm not that much. I don't feel that much boring or that much different than learning painting or drawing or perspective. So yeah, the I think that's awesome to finding the way, and feel to do something, because the way to do something is to continue to do it, and in order to continue to do it, you need to finding a way to feel achievement and the fun from it, and the step by step putting the mileage. And yeah, but also from what I'm just mentioned, I noticed like uh like if there's a school, the school will giving you a structure, so you can follow the structure, so you can building the confidence and then achievement. You feel fulfilling to see yourself growing, and that's another type of motivation. Besides have fun. So that would be helpful. But I guess a lot of artists, they they don't get a chance to get like education, like resource, like school, or even know how to what book to read, what tutorial to watch. So when they self-taught, it would be difficult to have the process, and the artist would feel maybe when you're learning by yourself, you feel frustrated. So yeah, so I guess my lesson is like finding something, the motivation from coming inside of you, fun, passion, like a self achievement, the kind of feeling you feel you're moving. That all those things are coming from inside of you, and so you can founding yourself. You can kind of like treat yourself. If you treat yourself as a company, it's like you're founding yourself. So you treat yourself as an employee, you pay yourself, you know, with the currency of those internal values. So I think that's important. That's really got me to just doing this consistently. And of course, other things are also important. Posting online and get thousands of like is definitely going to be very happy thing for every artist. I can definitely see there. The dopamine rush is not necessary to be a bad thing. And also yeah, those things will keep you doing it, and if you can keep continually doing it, you can continue to grow and learn. Then it becoming a positive cycle. That would be awesome. That's my, I think that's the biggest like lesson. Because I don't have I'm not really good actually. I don't consider myself as a very talented artist, but even not talent as me can continually doing this. So so I can achieve the level where I feel like I feel comfortable. So I think that's the reason is because I continually doing this.
All right, awesome, man. And well, those were some like really interesting points, honestly. And yeah, that was a really fun episode. Thank you so much for coming by. Where can people
Thanks.
contact you if they have any questions? Is there Instagram account okay for questions?
Yes. They my art station and my Instagram and or any social. If you can find me. You know, so that you can.
Sure.
I love to answer any question or just giving any feedback, talking anything you want. Because for me, I also like before recording, I we are talking. I'm also interested about you know like what other artists is thinking about a lot of things like about art, about industry, industry across the world. What's they looking? That's something oh, you asked me about my hobby. That's part of my hobby too. Just to learn about different things across the world and watch news.
All right, man. And I guess that's about it. Again, thank you so much for coming back for this episode, and thank you to anyone who tuned in to listen to this episode or watched on YouTube. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below if you have any comments or suggestions or anything. And by the way, don't forget to check out, if you're Mandarin speaking, you can check out his podcast. That's the link below in the captions. And if you're interested in his process of works, you can find the link to his YouTube channel as well, where there's like breakdown of time lapse, a bunch of his like 3 or 4 of his works, I think there. And yeah, there's some really cool stuff there. Even regardless if you don't want to speak Mandarin, they're just interested in watching his process of works. That's an amazing source actually.
Oh,
And
actually, sorry to interrupt you. Actually, I
no worries.
recorded my process both in English and Mandarin. So
Oh, awesome.
there's an English version of those sound processing. Also, those tutorial is inspired by Java too. Because I saw his tutorial on Learn Square, and each video of his tutorial on Learn Square is inside 10 minutes. It's not long, but it's containing a lot of ideas. So I was like, to me, it's mind blowing. It's like, wow, he's talking so much with so short amount of time. So I really, it's like you saw an artist. Besides being a visual artist, he also art of words. So he's really awesome and amazing, and I am really inspired by that. So I'm doing a tutorial. I try to squeeze the time inside there, like 10 minutes or something. But yeah, it's difficult for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And well, that's about it, folks. Take care, stay safe, and until next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.